Now, still on the state capture report, Mineral Resources Minister and ANC Chairperson Gwede Mantashe will take the latest state capture report on judicial review. Part 3 reveals that politicians and government officials benefited from corrupt dealings with Bosasa. Zondo's report recommends that former President Jacob Zuma, Mantashe as well as Nomvula Mokonayne should be investigated. Zuma's foundation has dismissed the findings, saying they're biased. Reporter Pule Letshwiti-Jones joins us to discuss the fallout and reaction from those implicated. Pule, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. You know, I do want to get a view on the money trail, that who got what when. But I was quite surprised or found it to be a very tense briefing yesterday. When I looked at Mantashe, he spoke of religion and consciousness. He really took your reporters through a lot, where he was saying basically there was no perjury there and there will be no step aside from me. There's no consciousness that's needed here. That is in fact religion, where you want to preempt what is to come out of that investigation by law enforcement officers. Just take me through the money trail and touch a bit on that press conference. How was it?
Well, that's Mr. Mantashe for you. Basically saying that there's no prima facie evidence which could lead to what could possibly be an imminent arrest, saying that the investigation still needs to unfold. He then goes on to say that he's been at the commission 4 times and has given evidence, and was of the view that the commission was trying to make facts out of assumptions. That's the reason why he thinks there were technical legal processes that had to be applied, and therefore taking this report on review. He's not the only one, though. Immediately when the report came out, I called him and he responded. But the likes of Cedric Frolic as well have responded, saying that they will be studying the report. You remember he is also an ANC MP, and he said that he was of the view that his lawyers had to consult with them. We have the ANC senior official Nomvula Mokonayne, who also said that she will be studying the report. But when you look at the paper trail, you get to realize that the Bosasa's primary mechanism was to try and influence some of these top public office bearers to ensure the adequate lucrative deals that would then go in their way. For example, you look at how they would pump in about 300,000 into the Jacob Zuma Foundation. You'd also remember the former president did not really go to the commission to answer for what was needed, and therefore, while that's the case, we also understand that there were the chairperson of the foundation, such as Dudumieni, on his behalf would also try and receive the money, which would then be pumped into the foundation for what would be then the undercovering and making sure that the Hawks docket, which was looking into the crimes allegedly committed by Bosasa, disappeared. Do you remember there was a meeting between Mienia and, of course, Angela Agriti at the Sheraton Hotel, where Agriti was then able to take pictures of the docket, and therefore the accountability processes of holding Bosasa to account were delayed then.
Now, when we speak of these particular individuals who were in fact then given these monies, we speak clearly of people who might have held some level of influence, because Gwede Mantashe at the time would have been the Secretary General, and then you had Nomvula Mokonayne in the province. She was a organizer, where she had stated on numerous occasions that they would have gotten money for conferences for the ANC or certain events that they would have held. So in that instance, then it would suggest that in most cases, in as much as Mr. Mantashe would say that there's no signature that you're going to find of his on any document, but clearly on Bosasa's side, they knew who holds some level of influence when it comes to contracts, even though he wasn't in government at the time. Yes, it remains an allegation, but what I'm getting is that these individuals, they were selected thoroughly. They knew who exactly would have some level of influence. Is that what I'm getting?
Yes, like to the degree of influence that Bosasa was doing, they would target mainly individuals who they thought that would actually allow for their businesses to continue. Like, you'd remember that Dudumieni would have loved to receive, allegedly by the report, 300,000 in a Louis Vuitton bag in a move to try and influence the president to ensure that the contracts that Bosasa was receiving with then Department of Correctional Services were never cancelled. And you'd also remember that the likes of Dudumieni the likes of Nomvula Mokonayne would also receive 40,000 per month, according to this report as well. So these are very key ANC official bearers who were actually allowed to maneuver into trying to protect the interests of Bosasa. But furthermore, you'd remember there was an ANC ANC war room that was established into 2014 elections. And
yes,
the report says that this would have been another move to try and see how some of the ANC officials would be influenced into trying to working hand in hand with Bosasa. It's of the view that it couldn't have been that why the ANC wouldn't have used different facilities, but used those of Bosasa at their offices in Krugersdorp. But just to go back to yesterday, I want you to listen very carefully to what Mr. Mantashe had to say about having to consult this legal team, saying that there is nothing against him, denying all wrongdoing.
My legal team is currently analyzing the report and will thereafter advise me on the next steps to be taken. I presented myself in person, not on papers, and in my capacity as the former Secretary General of the eNCA, the governing party, with the firm conviction that the Commission was a necessary cathartic process for our party and for our country, in the process of ridding ourselves of the scourge of corruption. I did so in good faith, trusting the Commission will act in fairness, with high ethical aptitude, without innuendo, and a cloud hanging over any one of us, where legally substantive matters show. I've since released the release of the first volume of the Commission reports, cautioned that outcomes of these reports should not be used for which hand to escalate individual and certain political personalities. I will not, however, at this stage address myself to the specifics of the findings, as this is a matter that requires legal scrutiny, which is something I now preparing myself for with my legal team.
A very interesting briefing there from yesterday. Before you leave, I know we've run out of time, but just a quick one. It's interesting to note that at this point, I cannot single out an individual that didn't say they presented themselves to the State Capture Commission to help the Commission. Nobody seems to be implicated according to them. They were there to help the Commission. It's quite interesting just hearing that from Mantashe yesterday.
Definitely, and he says that they will be supporting the whole process of the ANC into looking into the report and ensuring that there's accountability. He says we do support the Commission, but at the very same time, I feel as though there was a mistake in terms of the Commission having it in the legal processes of perpetuating the idea that what it has presented as what he calls assumptions are now facts, and that's what we've come to. But you know what's also interesting, Nomvula, is that the Commission has not made any findings against the President, Cyril Ramaphosa, as well, into the donations which were made by Bosasa allegedly by Bosasa, yes, into the CR17 campaign, saying that it was dealt with by the public protector in the report, but we do know that the courts have dismissed that court hearing as well by the public protector, and therefore this also brings the idea that more should have been done by the Commission as per some of the ANC officials as well. But while that's the case, we wait to see when the MPA says that they will be digging more in terms of the unfolding investigations that are uncovering, because it looks like they really have a huge challenge to face right now, as everyone is now running to the courts to try and ensure that they can have their name cleared.
A lot of litigation, and I loved your question yesterday when you actually asked him that, broadly speaking, when we look at the Commission, it's cost in the region of $1 billion, and right now we have recommendations to further investigate. You know, and you asked him a pertinent question that, has it really come to naught? But yeah, it's honestly, at least he said that no, he doesn't think that it was futile, it was important, but that he is just concerned about this aspect, that in this regard, when it comes to him, they were ill-informed or it's incorrect. He's innocent. But thank you very much for joining us. That's reporter Pule Letshwiti-Jones, who's combing through that voluminous report for us and just giving us the latest on some of those that are implicated on part 3 of the Zondo Commission report.